homework recently.
Yeah, I know. Those Shakespeare questions were super insane. 20 questions is way too much.
I know, right?
Hey, is that a...
What? Call 911!
So what do we have here?
Deceased young white male found sitting against a tree by 2 joggers. No wallet on the victim that we've seen. He's holding a handgun. Minimal insect activity indicates that he hasn't been here very long.
Looks like a pretty open shut case. Suicide.
Maybe, but look at the neck. The bruises there seem to indicate manual strangulation.
What about the location? Most suicides happen in the home or in a public place, not in the middle of the woods.
Good point. We need to get an ID on the victim. Rebecca, you done taking the photos yet?
Just about.
Alright. We need to get samples. We need to get soil, insects, and the gun needs to be dusted for prints. Two are the ones that found the body?
Yeah, we were just jogging in the woods and that's when we found it.
Did you notice anything else strange? Anything to indicate somebody was here recently?
No, nothing.
Alright. I'm going to need to get your names and your numbers. We may need to contact you for further questioning later. If you think of anything, please don't hesitate to call. That's my business card. You can get a hold of me anytime.
Okay, thanks. Keep that in mind.
Anything new?
Well, rigor mortis isn't present, but the blood's pooling in the feet and ankles, not like in the lower calves and thighs like its position suggests.
So the victim likely died 48 hours ago and was brought here, but why?
Minimal insect activity on the body indicates that it was placed here really recently. But where would it have been kept to escape insect activity?
Perhaps a cold storage facility?
Maybe.
The lack of blood spatter on the hand indicates it wasn't shot from the victim. This is starting to look more and more like a homicide. Be sure to get a deep rectal temperature.
Get right on that.
So, what did you learn from the autopsy?
Well, external examination confirmed bruising around the neck. I took some samples from underneath the fingernails, tissue samples, possibly from the killer. And internal examination yielded minimal physical damage to most of the body organs. However, the hyoid bone was broken and the trachea was crushed, indicative of manual strangulation.
Manual strangulation is a crime of power. The killer would have to be fairly strong.
Or catch the victim seriously off guard. You know, one thing did seem a little strange. The internal organs were remarkably well preserved. You'd think the body had only been dead for a few hours, but based on rigor mortis, that is impossible.
I might have a reason as to why that is. I took your results from the deep rectal temperature and plan to do a quick nomogram analysis from the ambient temperature of the past few days. But the weird thing is that his temperature was lower than the ambient temperature in the surrounding areas.
What does this mean?
It means that the body was actually warming, but I have no way of telling what temperature it actually started at. It supports our theory that it was in a cold storage facility before it was dumped.
There was no real tissue damage to indicate the body was frozen. It must have been refrigerated, and in the upright position to explain lividity. Marks and fibers on the wrists and ankles could indicate that he could have been strapped to some sort of upright table. Fiber analysis could confirm.
But what would be the motive for this murder?
Ah, here's the best part. It seems our killer performed a bit of post-mortem surgery. He had the tools and he knew what to do with them, but it does seem a little bit rushed.
Post-mortem? How do you know?
No healing. This injury is as fresh as the moment it was cut. He must have stitched it in an attempt to cover it up. And when I cut in, guess what I found was missing?
What?
The pancreas.
Have you been able to identify the victim yet?
Yes, I wasn't able to find any relevant missing persons reports, so I used the 10 prints taken from the victim at the scene. I was able to match into prints in the AFIS database. First I took 12 ridge caps from one of the thumbs, starting from the origin of the print and drawing lines out to the bifurcations and counting ridges from origin to bifurcation. AFIS gave me 3 possible matches. Level 1 examination of the general pattern told me the print was a whorl, ruling out 2 of the options. By examining minutiae and ridge size, pore location and scars, I was able to confirm that the last was indeed our victim, Sam Hughes, nabbed back in '95 for a DUI. I asked another investigator to take a look at the print, and he obtained the same results.
Excellent. Have we contacted the family yet?
It's odd. The guy has no family ties in the area, none listed in our database at all. However, we were able to contact an old girlfriend of his listed as an emergency contact. She's coming in now to ID the body.
Good. Were you able to identify the prints on the gun?
The killer must have used a glove. Only the victim's prints were present.
Any news on the DNA analysis from under the victim's fingernail?
Nope. That had to be sent away and will likely take several weeks. We did, however, complete the hair and fiber analysis, as well as toxicology.
The results?
I can confirm our suspicions that the victim has had some kind of restraint on his hands, possibly leather. Also, while we were only able to find human hair on the victim, we did find another kind of hair. When closely examined, the scales of the cuticle, appearance and ratio of medullary cortex, and granule appearance and distribution all seem to point towards some kind of dog, probably a small one. I was able to get a tissue sample from the roots of one of the hairs, so DNA evidence should be able to verify. Also, he had alcohol in his system.
Good. If our victim doesn't own a dog, it's very likely that our killer does.
Miss Grable is here to see the body. I'm just taking her in right now.
Good. I'm right behind you.
Yep, that's him, alright.
Forgive me if this is rude, but you don't seem overly distraught. Did you and Mr. Hughes have a good relationship?
It wasn't terrible. At first he seemed really nice, which is why we started dating. I was looking for someone safe at the time. After a while, though, he started to get really moody, and because he was moody, he started drinking. A lot. At my urging, he finally went to see the doctor and was diagnosed for depression and possible alcoholism, but never bothered to do anything about it. Come to think of it, I might still have the records at home if you want. I haven't cleaned up my filing cabinet in a while.
That would be helpful. Thank you, Miss Grable.
No trouble. Anyway, I broke it off after 9 months. That was 3 years ago.
Did Mr. Hughes have any particular negative relationship with people he knew? Perhaps a neighbor or someone he worked with?
No, not that I can think of. Wait, he worked in a medical research facility. He mentioned this guy once. He never told me his name, though. Apparently they'd had a bit of a dispute about some lab equipment that had gone missing. The other guy said he had no idea what happened to it.
Did he happen to mention what tools had gone missing?
Yeah, a few knives and a scalpel. That special surgical thread and a needle.
Thank you, Miss Grable. You've been more than helpful. I may call you up with some follow-up questions.
Happy to assist.
Anything else on Grable?
No, her alibi holds up, and I doubt she would have the physical strength to commit the crime.
Alright then, where are we for suspects?
We've been able to identify the man Grable mentioned as Carl Stewart.
Looks like we need to pay Mr. Stewart a visit.
I'll stay here. I want to work on the chromatography analysis of that node. Maybe the ink can lead us to the perp.
Mr. Carl Stewart?
Yes, that's me.
Hi, we're forensic investigators. I'd like to ask you a few questions about one of your colleagues, Sam Hughes. We understand you work together.
Yeah, but so did 15 other people. I didn't even know him too well, but when he didn't show up for work on Tuesday, I called around. No one seemed to know anything, so I figured he just needed a break since we've been working on a big project all week. I was sad to hear he passed, though. It's a real shame.
When were you last in contact with Mr. Hughes?
Last Monday, but he didn't say anything about having any plans for the evening.
He was found the next Thursday morning. He could have been dead up to 3 days.
Mr. Stewart, Sam Hughes' old girlfriend mentioned that you two had a bit of an argument around 3 years ago. Is that true?
Well, yes. It all seems a bit silly now. He had noticed that some lab equipment had gone missing and began questioning all the people in the lab. I wasn't overly receptive to his false accusations and may have overreacted a bit. I wouldn't be interested in hurting him over it. It was a simple workplace argument.
I understand, Mr. Stewart. I can't help but notice you have some white hair on your shoe. You wouldn't happen to have a pet, would you?
Why, yes, I do. His name is Timbit. Would you like to see a picture?
I would love to. Aw, what a cute spaniel.
I know. Anyway, I've got to get back to work if you guys wouldn't mind.
Of course. We'll get under your way. Thanks for your help.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
It's been a pleasure.
Good luck with your investigation.
Thank you. He's a breed of dog that would be consistent with our hairs. And he worked with the same type of tools that were used to kill Hughes. Tools he was accused of stealing. Could he be lying about not knowing what happened to him?
Maybe. It's definitely worth looking into.
Hey, I finished the chromatography on the note.
What did you find?
Well, I put a sample of ink on this chromatography paper, the stationary phase, and allowed the alcohol solvent, the mobile phase, to run up the paper. The molecules of different pigments are separated based on the fact that smaller molecules move more quickly. When I achieved good separation, I removed the paper and calculated RF values by dividing the distance traveled by the solvent by the distance traveled by each pigment.
I know how it works. So what did you find?
I was able to match the composition of the ink to a company which provides personal pens for various businesses, and I made a few phone calls and found that only one company with 100 kilometers uses them. And guess which one?
The research facility that Hughes worked at?
The very same. I also found an expert to analyze the handwriting, and it definitely doesn't belong to Hughes. Whoever killed Hughes used a pen from his workplace to write the fake note.
This Carl Stewart character is starting to look more and more like your guy. We'll look into him more tomorrow.
You know, I've been looking over this evidence again, and I can't help feeling that something doesn't add up. Why did our perp make so many mistakes? You don't just spontaneously kill a coworker. He should have had a plan. And why the pancreas?
Well, if it was his first kill, the errors could have just been because he was nervous.
That's just the thing. I don't think this was his first kill. Or it wasn't his first time cutting into a body anyway. He knew exactly where to get that pancreas. There's no tentative initial cuts, it's just one shot. A little rushed, but still one shot. Plus he clearly knew what he was doing. Used the right tools, clean stitching, hands weren't shaking. If those missing tools from the research facility were the ones used in the crime, then he's had them for a few years. He may have killed many times. Plus he had a cold room on hand. I think this guy was under some kind of time constraint. The only reason I can think of for a killer leaving himself so little time would be that either the kill was unplanned or the murder didn't go as planned.
Either way, our killer probably made some other mistakes. If it is Mr. Stewart, there's probably some other evidence in his home. I've been able to get a search warrant for his workplace and apartment. We can go there now if you want.
All right.
find anything at the apartment?
Nothing of interest. Browsing history is clean, and no reading material that would indicate any strange interests. I collected a few more of the dog hair samples, though, and can confirm that they do look to be from the same breed of dog. That's class evidence, though, and nothing that can be used to convict in court.
Keep looking over the evidence. Maybe something will jump out at you. How did the lab search go?
Better than the apartment. More of the dog hairs. We found the kit containing the missing equipment and dusted for prints. Carl Stewart has indeed touched these tools. Unfortunately, so have 3 other guys from the lab.
All the same, it's starting to look more and more like Stewart's our guy. Maybe when those DNA samples come in, we'll have a more solid case.
I called the lab earlier. They should be back tomorrow.
Alright, let's call it a day then.
The results are in. Oh dear, the DNA doesn't seem to match Stewart or Hughes. Our killer is still a mystery.
We could ask for cheek swabs from the other 3 lab workers, but there's no telling whether they'll agree to it. Plus, they are very expensive and they take a very long time. And we have the budget of a high school film project as it is.
We can try anyways. Best bring them in for questioning too. Even if they're not the killer, they might be able to give us something we can work with. I'll start calling.
Any luck so far?
No, both have faults on the alibis. I'm pretty sure neither of them have anything to do with this case.
Oh, there's one left, right? Maybe he's our guy.
Maybe. He should be here soon.
Is that him there?
Yep, that's him. Alright, so you work in a medical research facility, correct?
Yeah, I'm in the endocrinology department.
I hear you there. Down here we do a lot of scientific analysis. My friend here specializes in fiber analysis and fingerprinting. What do you do?
Oh, this and that. We do a lot of work with animal testing for drugs. But we're not a huge hit with PETA, but it's all in the name of saving some human lives, right?
Right. See, the thing is, my friend was looking at this case of lab equipment, and we noticed some of it had gone missing. The interesting thing is that those pieces missing seem to match the tools that were used in the murder recently. Interestingly enough, your fingerprints were on the case. Can you explain that?
Yes, I often use that kit for my lab work. Plenty of other guys do. And those tools have been missing for quite a while. A few years, actually.
Yes. We're theorizing Sam Hughes' murder may only be one in a series of murders.
Really? Like, that's really interesting? Like, do you have anything to support that at all? Or?
Nothing solid yet. Say, can you tell me where you were the evening of May 27th?
The Monday? I was at home.
In your apartment? Alone?
Yeah.
Did you see Sam Hughes at all after work?
No, I never talked to the guy.
Are you sure? One of the other men we questioned said you two were buddies.
No! That's a lie. Who said that?
Yeah, he said you two used to hang out after work sometimes.
No. No, he must have had me confused with someone else.
I'm sure he did. Say, Mr. Bennett, might you be able to tell me where you got those scratches on your hands?
What? Oh, I've hurt my hands at work. It's nothing really. Hazard comes with the job.
Right. My partner and I will be back in a few minutes. Just hang tight.
Did you see his face when you mentioned there might be other murders? He looked worried. Where'd you come off that anyways? We never talked about there being other murders.
He did. And I know. It was an investigative technique. Thought it surprised might provoke his emotions. It was just a guess, and they got more than I could have hoped. And the scratches, they could have been made by Hughes, right?
Yeah, they look consistent with human fingernail marks, but we can't force him to give evidence against himself. We can ask, but he knows we're onto him. I doubt we're going to solve this case with DNA. We're going to need some other evidence.
We're not going to get a warrant based on circumstantial scratches and getting a weird feeling from an interview. We're going to have to let him go. We can come over the evidence again. Maybe we'll find something.
Here's hoping. I've looked over everything again and again. This guy may have been in a rush, but he was good. We have nothing concrete to link Bennett to the crime.
I think I have what you need. When you mentioned the name Bennett after the interview, it rung a bell with me. When I was looking for some information about the people working in the research facility, I noticed that one of the unused basement labs was being rented out to one of the researchers. It was under the name of Bennett, but I never made the connection. When you mentioned him earlier, I decided to look into it. Guess what? Same guy. It turns out this lab contains a large refrigeration unit. I contacted the research facility, and under the rental agreement, the facility retains the right to access the lab at any time and have agreed to let us search it.
That's great. Let's go right now.
Unfortunately, part of the deal states that only one officer may enter the scene. They want to keep this on the down low, so without an official search warrant, we have to comply.
I'll go. I can keep in contact by radio if anything happens. Open up, it's the police! I'm at the location now. Just clear the place. Just start taking photos.
Good to see you awake. I knew you and your investigator friend were on to me after our little interview, but I had hoped you'd give me more time before you found my hideaway.
So you killed Hughes then?
After what you've seen, I suppose there's no point in lying to you. Yes, I did kill Hughes. He wasn't intentional though, he was a bit of an accident. And I'm about to kill you as well. Don't even try.
Can't kill me. They're expecting me to radio in.
Well, it looks like we're gonna have to do just that then. Just remember, if you give away anything, I'll make sure your death is as painful as possible. And I'll be ready for them.
Fine.
Go.
I'm all clear here. There's nothing. Maybe Bennett isn't our guy.
Shoot. Alright. We'll talk tomorrow.
Very good, James.
Wait. What is this all about? If I'm gonna die for something, I want to know why.
Alright, fair enough. You may have noticed the jars over there. No, they're not just for decorations, as I'm sure you're thinking. Instead, they are filled with human pancreases. Then why the pancreas, you may ask? It may seem a bit strange and a bit dark, but the truth is...
Rebecca, I just looked into Bennett's profile in the research facility database. Under the section for health concerns, he's listed himself as a diabetic.
But weird as that is, it might explain the pancreas. But James just called in and said there's nothing in the lab, unless... I'm not getting anything. His walkie-talkie's off. He never turns it off.
This might be a bit of a long shot, but I think we need to get down there.
So you're a diabetic. But why do you need other people's pancreases?
Well, that's a story. You see, all my life, I've struggled with diabetes. Originally, when I was first diagnosed, I kind of rejected the fact and wasn't exactly the world's best diabetic. I went on a sugar binge for a bit, and I ended up in the hospital with a coma. They saved my life, but I'm glad that they did. It inspired me to do something better with my life. From that point on, I knew that I had to rid the world of diabetes. I went through my bachelor's degree with incredible ease. Went and got my master's. Everything was going great. Endocrinologist. But then that bastard professor rejected my thesis. I had worked on it for 3 years.
So what was your thesis?
Well, I was working on replicating true human insulin with incredibly fast-acting properties. I knew it was going to work. It was working. But without the proper funding, I had to resort to some less than orthodox means of obtaining my organs. Besides, no one misses just a few homeless guys off the street, right?
Homeless people? That doesn't explain Hughes.
Ah, Hughes. He was a mistake. Him and I were friends, despite what I told you. I invited him over for drinks that Monday to establish an alibi. I needed a new pancreas, and one can never be too careful. I may have let something slip about my research, and when he responded negatively to it, I panicked and choked him. You may have noticed from the bruise marks on the neck. And I guess that I had a low blood sugar, and the alcohol must have induced hypoglycemia because I passed out shortly after that.
Then what happened?
After I woke up, I remembered what I had done and realized I needed to deal with the evidence, mainly Hughes. People would notice that he had gone missing, and I decided that people needed to have some closure, as well as to protect myself. As it was still early morning, I was able to wheel him in through the back door here, where I knew there were no cameras, and there were also no cameras around here. I strapped him to my table and removed his pancreas, seeing as he was nice and dead for me. After I was done, I wheeled him back into the fridge and went to work upstairs for the rest of the day. Unfortunately, on Tuesday nights, we have people come here and do a deep cleaning, so I wasn't able to get him out of here until Wednesday. After that is when I set the little scene up for you guys. Apparently, it didn't work out as planned, seeing as you suspected something. Well, enough about me. Now it's time to deal with you. What?
Emily, grab the gun. You okay?
Yeah, I think so.
So all the victims are homeless, just like you said. And they're all missing their pancreases. Must have been collecting their pancreases for research. Weird.
Well, there are a lot of strange people out there.
But you'd have to know that once he presented his findings, if he had any, they wouldn't be taken as valid, and he'd be arrested.
Some people just refuse to accept reality, so they're capable of it. They've been hurt so badly.
Hey guys, check this out.
What's up?
It's the pen. You must have written the suicide note here.
More than likely.
Hey, look at this jar. Has your name on it, James.
Wow. It could have been me. I guess my pancreas anyways.
Try not to think about it. I'll have the handwriting on the jar analyzed to confirm its similarity to Bennett's, but I'm sure we have enough evidence as it is to convict.
Wait, did you ever figure out why the dog hairs are present at the crime scene?
Simple. The Locard exchange principle. Anytime two objects are in contact, material is exchanged. Both Bennett and Hughes worked with Stewart, who owned the dog. Hairs must have been transferred from him to one of them.
That makes sense. It really led us astray, though.
Evidence never lies. We just can't be sure which truth is telling.
Alright, good.
I'm not just a piece of meat.
What do you think of this?
My name
I'm left with emptiness that words cannot defend. You'll never know what I became because of you. 10,000 promises, 10,000 ways to lose. And you held it all, but you were careless to let it fall.
Damn it, that one got away.
And you held it all.
Punch you in the face.
You were careless to let it fall. You held it all.
Like you know, right?
Alright, you're good?
Yeah.
Alright. Is it recording? Yep. Alright. 3, 2, 1.